So this is how I'm going to grade the titrations lab. This is the rubric and what I'm looking for to have in your lab. This is your lab handout, and then here's my rubric guidelines so that you know where I'm getting the points from. First, your title, your lab partners, your date, and your purpose. That's the same, just as any other lab, so I'm taking those as your partial points. Open it up. So on page 2, we've got the pre-lab questions. The first one I'm going to take as 2 points. Second one, I would like you to do the dissociation reactions and the equilibrium constants. So I'm taking that as 1 point, half point each. For number 3, that will be 2 points. 1 for the graph, and then 1 for you to identify the pH at the equivalence point. So those are where those points are going to come from. For 4, I'm taking that as 1 point. We haven't really talked about that a lot yet, but I would still like you to consider it. Come ask me questions if you are confused. And then on page 3, it says at the top, using the following indicators, I would like to take that as 2 points. So for our pre-lab questions, that comes to a total of 8 points. I'm going to jump down and talk about the procedure. So we did do 2 parts to this lab. We had the introductory activity, and then we had our titration. Again, I gave you a copy of the procedure for the titration. So this is not the procedure I would like you to do for your titration. I gave you that separately. So for the procedure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take part 1, a summary of that to be 5 points. So that was when we had our 5 milliliters of acid, 5 milliliters of base, waters each pH, and then mix them together. And then part 2 is the actual titration that we did on Wednesday and Thursday. Please summarize those, each of them. So that comes to a total of 10 points. So again, I'm looking for part 1 and a part 2 procedure, 5 points each. Please summarize those. Now, for the data tables, on the top of page 4, number 4 says review the list of indicators in the material section, look up the acidic base colors for each indicator and its pH, enter the information in a table, choose a suitable indicator for this activity. So I am looking for a data table. So your data tables, there will be 3 total. The first one is for your indicators. So this is page 4, number 4 at top. Taking that one for 3 points. 1 for each of the indicators. The second data table is the one that you use to collect the pHs that we did in our introductory activity. So for example, in the introductory activity, you want to find the pH of the acid and the pH of the base, pour them together and do the pH of that. I would like those pH values recorded in a data table. The other thing you need to record in that data table is 8. It says record the amount of base that has been added. So if you have a data table for your intro activity, I'm taking that one for 5 points. The third data table is the one that we did for the titration. So this is your titration. Several of you were able to put it on a computer. So this may be computer generated. If you want to handwrite all your data points, that's fine with me, but it can be computer generated. Again, please give me most definitely the volume added, the pH, and the indicator color. If your burette readings were different than your volume added, so for example, if you did not start both of them at 0, give me the burette reading as well. But ultimately, I'm looking for the volume. And I'm taking that, again, it can be computer generated, to be 5 points. So on your data sheet, on your rubric, your data tables actually come to 13 points, not 10. So we've got a couple more points in our data tables for those 3. Now, for the equations, calculations, and graph part. So down here in our guided inquiry procedure, this gives some other information but not the direct procedure. Down here at number 8, it says perform the titration and graph the data collected. That's the graph I'm looking for. Then it says label important regions on the titration curve. The important regions I would like you to do, so in your graph, I would like you to label the initial pH. Let me get my list out. Please label first the initial pH. So where does that show up on your titration curve? Second, I want the pH at the equivalence point. And I want the volume of your titrant at the equivalence point. Fourth one, I would like your buffer zone. So where do we have a buffer present? Fifth one, give me the pH of the titrant. And then sixth one, where is your pH equal to your pKa? We'll talk about this in class on Monday, but those are the 6 things I want you to label on your titration curve. I'll take each of those for 1 point, so this will be 6 points total. Now, that's just the graph part. We also have some calculations. So the calculations is for this right here. We are trying to determine the unknown concentration of the acetic acid that we titrated. So those are the calculations. Determine the concentration of acetic acid. Acetic acid is HC2O, let's see, HC2H3O2. That's acetic acid. We were working with 0.1 molar NaOH. You will need that as well in order to do that. For calculations, I'm going to take that as 4 points. So if we look back at our grading rubric, we have data tables to be the 13. Our calculations and graph section will be 6 for the graph and 4 for calculations, so that comes to 10. For the results, there's a few things I want to look at. First, what is your concentration of the acetic acid? So in this section up here, your calculation section, I'm looking for the math. In your results, I'm looking for the actual answer, the actual number. Then, flip back to your lab. I'm on page 4 in the guided inquiry design and procedure part. Step 4, set up a burette with clamp, support stand, pH meter, beaker, flask, etc. Explain why it is desirable to clean and rinse the burette with the titrant before beginning the titration. I'm looking for that one. I would like you to give me an answer to that in your conclusion section. I also want you to do number 5. Is it necessary to know the exact volume of the unknown? Explain. There's also one in number 6. Explain why or why not it is necessary to measure the volume when rinsing with water. So for those 3 questions, I would like you to put those in your results and conclusion. So questions 4 through 6 on page 4. I'll take 2 points each for these, so that comes to a total of 8 on your rubric. So instead of this 10, I'm doing 8. Sources of error, give me 3 to 5. That's the same as it's always been. You do not have to do anything for accuracy of results except to give me your results for your concentration of acetic acid. I will go through and say, okay, you either got it or you weren't quite close enough. And then there is, so if we go back to our lab, flip it over, page 5, these AP Chemistry review questions, this is your post-lab. These are your post-lab questions. I'll take them 2 points each, so that gives us a total of 6. All told, comes to a whopping number of 72 points total. So kind of a big lab. We also did a lot in it though. That's how I want to grade this. See me with questions and you can reference this at any time. Thanks so much.